Hello and welcome to the PF's Word. I'm your host, Benjamin FriedJamin Friedman, and here with me today for our first published cast is David TheDynasty Spitler. We're missing Jesse iLLogicall Hilton today, but he will be joining us when we preview the top half of the league later in the week. Let's kick off our NA LCS summer preview by talking about the newest teams in the LCS, TDK and NME. So, Team Dragon Knights, the interesting thing about that team is that we haven't seen the whole roster play together yet.
I'll fix it.
What?
It's just slightly off. Okay, we'll be good. Just give me a sec.
All right. Well, we haven't seen the actual roster play together yet, but the core hasn't changed much. Do we need to take the Alex H boosting joke seriously, or is their three-man core enough to think they'll have some success in the LCS?
Okay, well, with the roster of Seraph, Kez, Emperor, Ninja, and Smoothie, there's definitely potential. There's a lot of talent on the team, but I just don't think they're gonna cut it. I mean, I think we're looking at a bottom tier team here with TDK, especially given what we know about Emperor and his latest split with Keyed Stars in Brazil. Now, I know that one person doesn't make a team, and it's not to put all the blame onto Emperor, but in Brazil, if your team has two Koreans who formerly played in OGN and you can't win your league, there's some serious issues. Now, what the rumor and the go around is that there was team fighting and just kind of a whole degradation of the structure of the team as they started to lose and just kind of played on tilt. So Emperor is definitely going to have to improve on that to succeed in the NALCS with Team Dragon Knights, especially when you have a team with Kez and Smoothie. I mean, not to say that either of those guys are bad, but they're very unproven, we'll say, at the LCS level.
So, all right, you already hit on Emperor, who's one of the two big additions. Ninja, for anyone who doesn't know, was part of the first World Elite team that was doing horribly in LPL, and they broke up and rebuilt around Spirit right before the IEM where they performed pretty well.
Yep.
And then they closed out the season fairly well, finishing the top 8 or the top 6. They finished pretty high. I can't remember. I have to look it up. Ninja was replaced by Shie, and they really turned it around, like I said. Do you think that reflects poorly on Ninja, or do you think that it was really just that they chose Mystic over him and they were obviously not going to bench Spirit?
I think it probably does reflect poorly on Ninja. I mean, not that... again, he had a sort of a similar situation as Emperor in Brazil, where he didn't necessarily speak the same language as all of his team, but he's going to have that again here. So it's pretty, I don't know, this is kind of an underwhelming pickup to me. You're going to go from Alex H, who carried a much inferior roster, but spoke the same language as everybody but Louis GG.
Don't 4 of the 5 players in this team speak Korean?
As far as I know, but I mean, you're also going.
So
it's gonna be somewhat simplistic, though. I mean, you're not talking about native Koreans necessarily, and you're talking about
Seraph, native.
Yeah.
And then Ninja and Emperor are native, and then you have Kez, who I don't know the level of his Korean, but I know he speaks Korean. So really, Smoothie is the one left out in the cold here.
And I mean, I still think it's going to be somewhat of a culture and, language difference, though. I do think it's going to impact them, and I think it's going to be negative as an impact overall. I think that they're going to struggle a bit.
Okay, well, let's talk about the more fun, in my opinion, of the two newcomers. Enemy eSports. So they looked like the best team with the least hype in the challenger scene when I was watching, and they dominated pretty much everyone. I think TDK gave them a few fits, but obviously they came out on top. They beat the Coast Fusion, or the Coast Final 5, whatever you would call that, amalgam team, and they beat Fusion pretty handily more than once. Do you think that they can stack up in the NLCS? Do you think they're like a Team 8 level team, or do you think they're bound for relegations?
So Enemy Esports went 9-1 in the Challenger round robin. They lost only to Fusion. They then kind of romped through the playoffs. You know, 2-0 over F5 and then a 3-1 over TDK. So they managed to lose 2 games in the entirety of the NACS split. As far as your question goes, I think, I do think they're going to be the better part of the bottom middle tier, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I think that they have a lot of potential. Their main I don't know, difficulty is going to be managing to stick in the LCS for next spring split. If they can do that, then I think they have a lot of growing room. So it's kind of a battle to get into the top 7, if you ask me.
So do you think if you had to make a prediction right now, do you think that they're one of these teams that can escape relegation, or knowing that I guess that means that they have to finish ahead of TDK and then 2 of Dignitas, Gravity, Teammate, and then CLG could keep imploding, but I doubt they'll implode to that level.
Yeah, so if you if you ask me, as far as tiers go for any LCS, you're looking at, I think Dragon Knight and Dignitas are on the bottom tier. I would probably put Dignitas slightly above that, and then on the same tier, but a bit higher than the other 2, is Enemy and Teammate. So I think they're gonna finish at least 8th. I think it might be a struggle for 7th though, and that'll be a good litmus for their season if they can win enough games off the top 6 to manage to get into that 7th spot.
Teammate looked pretty darn good. Well, we'll talk about a Teammate later. There's no need to get into a Teammate debate right now.
Teammate debate.
Yeah. All right. Well, you already talked about Dignitas. Let's get to our second tier right now, since we haven't been talking for very long. I lied.
Yeah.
I have one more thing that I would like to say about Enemy. The best player on the team, in my opinion, is Trashy. I think he's the real deal. I think he has got a future in Pro League for sure.
So
I don't know if you have more to say about that.
So we will want to wrap up this segment, so that I can switch the visuals. But
All right.
we can throw it together in one audio podcast. But we can do a little work with that. But I think that having Inox on the team is actually really good for them. You have a player who didn't necessarily do great in his LCS experience, but he has significant LCS experience with his time at EG, and he's shown that he's quite a capable mid, at least at the challenger level. So it'll be interesting to see him go up against some of the mid laners in the NECS or LCS now, which is a very strong position in the North American LCS. We've kind of shifted from an AD carry dominated league to kind of a mid laner dominated league, and so I think having Inox there in the potentially toughest but maybe most important and most visible position right now is going to help them a lot as they kind of rally around his knowledge and an experience with the team, with the higher levels of competition.
All right, so I think that wraps up part 1 of our 4-part NA LCS 2015 summer preview. That's a mouthful right there. This has been the BF's Word, and check out part 2, which will cover what we call the consistently decent teams.
Exactly. So no spoilers, but there are some interesting teams in there. All right.